Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and this weekend I just watched Nobody 2, the Bob Odenkirk sequel to, of course, the first Nobody, which came out like 2021, 22, I don't really remember, but, he's now has a franchise, I guess you could call it, of, kind of what you see a lot of different movie stars have these days. When a male movie star reaches a certain age, you can kind of just pivot into action star, it seems. And those come in a couple different flavors. Of course, you have the one who maybe not started it, but definitely started the craze of like guy you wouldn't expect to be an action guy turning into an action guy. You have the Liam Neeson Taken movies. And then of course you have like Keanu Reeves. He's always been an action guy, but Keanu Reeves doing the John Wick thing, and now you have Bob Odenkirk's Nobody. You also of course have your staples like John Statham and all that, right? Or Jason Statham. But yeah, just I guess my thing is the first Nobody was somewhat of a surprise, right? Like it definitely had a lot of the same beats you see in most of these, but it had a little bit more of a comedic edge because it's Bob Odenkirk. Not that he's necessarily like quipping all the time, but he does have, of course, his action one-liners every once in a while. But just the vibe overall, it's not an action movie that's taking itself too seriously. There are some comedic moments, but they do still try to keep it somewhat grounded. So it's not overtly an action comedy to where like ridiculous stuff is happening. Like he's still getting his ass kicked, he's still getting punched, and he's still a human being. But also, it's not one of those movies where you're worried about people dying. His dad, Christopher Lloyd, he's not dying. Even though he's an old man, you're like, oh no, this is where we get a sad moment where the grandpa dies. That just doesn't happen in these movies. This is definitely like a more lighthearted, like, hey, we're gonna get some cool action. There's gonna be some blood and some cursing, but also we're gonna have these moments where the family all kind of gets along, and that's really the focus of this one. They definitely like looked at what happened in the first movie and they're like, okay, well, let's focus more on the family, because that's really the one thing that differentiates this from all those other franchises, right? All those other like older guy doing action franchises is that, oh, he's a family man, he has kids, he has a wife, he's got all that he's got to take care of, and I am glad to say that in this one they don't keep it a secret. Like he's not trying to conceal that he can do all this. Like it's pretty early on his family finds out, like, oh yeah, I mean his kids, his wife already knew, but like his kids find out like, oh, dad can do all this crazy stuff, that's nuts. And they don't really ask too many questions. I think that's the other thing. And I will say that I think the villain in this one is maybe not as strong. They try to make this lady kind of like they Jokerify her, By Jokerify her, I just mean like they try to say like, oh, she's crazy, she's weird and zany, she's gonna be dancing and she's gonna be like trying to joke around while she's murdering people and she's laughing a lot. But I don't know, it doesn't really work. Like I don't really buy it. I don't know if it was the actress that they chose that just didn't really do the whole Jokerify thing really well. I think she would have worked better as just like a more serious straight villain, but they try to make her kind of zany and it seems kind of weird. I don't know, I don't think that part worked as well. I will say the action still works really well. Like there's still plenty of blood, there's still plenty of shootouts and cool moments and scenes, and he sets up a bunch of booby traps that all go off at the end, and you're like, oh cool, we get to see all this insane stuff happening. But overall, I'll say the villains weren't as good, and because it's a sequel, you kind of already know what you're getting here. Seeing Bob Odenkirk do all this action stuff, you kind of feel like you've seen it, I will say, if they do end up making a third one, which they could, I can definitely see them doing the thing where they lean more into the kids now, because this one, not like overtly sets it up, but somewhat sets it up to where like the kids could be more action oriented. Like I can see like, if they do like a time jump, like, oh yeah, the kids have been training or something, I don't know, I can see them kind of leaning that direction to where now it's definitely like the whole family going out on missions later, something like that. And yeah, I guess it's kind of just the first movie, but again, which maybe is inevitable in these kinds of franchises, to where it's like You get more action, you get more of that kind of comedic tone, but not too comedic, and it's grounded but not too grounded. It's got that nice middle spot to where I think, like, maybe not the whole family, but most of your family could go watch this movie perfectly fine, you know. And yeah, I don't know, it's nice to see Bob Odenkirk and stuff. It's nice to see Christopher Lloyd and stuff. So there you go, that's the movie. It's Nobody 2, you know what I mean? Like, there's no real surprises here. You kind of get exactly what you would want from this. And yeah, I will say there was a little bit of nice kind of like a subversion of expectations, and just that, like, oh hey, this guy that you thought was gonna be a villain, kind of, there ends up being a little bit of a twist there, and some, you know, suddenly the whole situation kind of gets flipped on its head, and it didn't go quite the way you thought it would go. But I don't know, at the end it's decent, it's fine enough. It's not as good as the first movie, but it still gives you kind of what you might have been expecting if you go in to watch this. You know, he's got to deal with his family and stuff, and there's kind of marital problems sometimes, and his kids are seeing what he's doing now with all this action craziness and how they react, you know, and that's the movie. Anyways, Nobody 2, it's fine. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.